Hi there, my name is Emily Gentry. I am a senior at Texas Women's University, and I am getting my Bachelor's of Science in fourth grade through eighth grade English as a second language education with a minor in English. And I am really excited today to be kind of walking you through my teaching portfolio and what it really meant to me. But to start, I figured it would be a good idea to kind of talk about how I even decided I wanted to become a teacher. And the answer is really simple. I've always wanted to be a teacher since the day I can remember somebody first asking me. I remember walking into kindergarten, my first year ever going to school. I didn't get to go to pre-K or even daycare. I was always at home with my family. And I was really nervous about going to school. And my kindergarten teacher, Miss Beasley, she was so sweet and so kind. She handed me a little bumblebee with a number that corresponded to my cubby on it. And she just told me that everything was going to be okay, that school is a place where everyone is welcome, everyone is loved and cared for, and it's a place where people love to learn. And that has stuck with me since I was 5 years old. It's 17 years later, and I'm still feeling those same experiences. And my love for education only grew as I got older. When I got into middle and high school, I found a special relationship with a lot of my teachers, and especially my English teachers, who really pushed me to find my voice and to find strength in who I was as a reader, as a writer, and as a speaker. And as I fell in love with that, I fell in love with the power that language had and the way that it can teach kids and students to really not be afraid to be who they are. And so knowing that I could help somebody else have that power over their own life, over their own words, was just something that I fell in love with from the very beginning. And I decided I wanted to become a teacher and just go out there and try and help change the world. And so I've been studying education for the past 4 years, and this teaching portfolio is kind of a culmination of all of the work that I've done over the past 4 years. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll kind of talk about what my portfolio looks like. So this is my About Me page. And the really cool thing about this portfolio is that it is based in the InTask standards and the T-test standards that teachers are regularly evaluated on in the state of Texas. So we have all of those standards right here. For each of the standards, I did have to give my own interpretation of what the standard really meant to me. And that's kind of how I chose the artifacts that are represented in my portfolio. And of these numerous standards, there were some that I was really happy with working with, and there were others that I definitely was a little bit more challenged working with. So for example, content knowledge and expertise, I think, was the InTask standard that worked the easiest for me. Because I feel like a big part of being a teacher is being knowledgeable in that content. And so I've taken that very seriously throughout my collegiate career. And so, for example, my first artifact, it's called Sula, the Holy Bible and Literary Trauma. I actually wrote this in a class that was not for my education major, but it was for my English minor. It was a multicultural literature class. And I found it to be a really important artifact that I was very proud of and very passionate about for a number of reasons. So first, I'm going to be working with a diverse group of students for my entire career. And as such, I do think it's really important to make sure that they're represented in the literature that they're consuming, in the media that they're writing about, analyzing and interpreting. And so this book, Sula, is written by Toni Morrison, and it is an incredibly beautiful and incredibly powerful book. I was asked by my professor to analyze the book for aspects of literary trauma. So I didn't do like a rhetorical analysis. I did an analysis for a particular faction of English study. And I also analyzed it through the lens of Christianity and religion. So there was a lot of synthesis going on, a lot of analysis going on, a lot of those, TEKS standards that we are asking our students to do. And I had extensive practice with this particular piece being able to do that. And so that's just something that I found very important, and I found was something that I was really empowered by with the InTask standards. Even aside from that, I have a mathematics content knowledge artifact. I even have one about digital citizenship, because because that spans multiple subjects. And in another class, I actually had to put together a professional learning glossary of 30 different terms relating to foundational reading skills and literacy development overall. So I really did enjoy this particular standard because I thought it was really important, and it was really easy for me to pull from my collegiate experiences in doing that. In terms of a category that I kind of struggled with a little bit, I definitely think that practice professionalism and partnerships is something that I'm actively working on. A lot of the standards that are present with this particular category are things that as a student, it's kind of hard to develop. So for example, I have my ATPE liability insurance in here. And although that's not necessarily something I had to work towards, I know it's something that's important for my career as an educator. I also have 2 artifacts present in here from conferences that I was able to present at with some of the content that I have been learning in my education program. But definitely I'm excited to kind of bulk this section up as I get further along in my career and I have the opportunity to do more professional development and practice more partnerships and professionalism with other educators. But overall, I think that the INTASC and the T-TEST standards are extremely important for my career just in general. Not only do they give you kind of a baseline of here's what you should be doing as an educator, but it also tells you how you can excel as an educator, how you can do better, how you can do more. And so those areas where I identified weaknesses, I know that those are areas that I am intentionally working on improving and doing better for my students. In those areas that I'm really successful with, I know that I can help out in a team setting or in a department or even in a school to help support those areas, kind of see some growth. In terms of just completing the entire portfolio as a whole, it was really interesting for me to get to go back across my 4 years of education and really see just the breadth of knowledge that I truly have and how much I've really learned across my collegiate career. And so I'm very proud of myself to see the work that I've done and to see how I've grown as an educator, as a professional, and even as a lifelong learner. And just learning about myself as a professional, seeing these standards and seeing how even aside from being a professional teacher, just even as a student, we're still doing work to tackle those standards is something that I'm very excited about. And just to learn about myself more as a person. I wrote my philosophy of education after I finished putting my breadth of artifacts into this portfolio. I already had kind of a draft going, but after I reread through my artifacts and I saw how I've developed as an educator and how my philosophies and belief systems have really changed, I was able to go in and really finalize my philosophy of education to be something that I truly believe represents me. And so I'm just so excited to get my professional teaching career started, to get to help students across the country and across the world, and to really just make new change makers that are excited to learn. So if you guys have any questions about anything that you see in here, my email is emily.r.gentry@gmail.com. I would be happy to help you guys out with any questions you might have. You also will have my phone number. It's on my resume, which is in this resume tab right over here. But otherwise, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and for taking the time to look at my portfolio. And I'm just so excited to get started in my teaching career. Thank you so much.